Hey guys, Aussie Expat here. I'm going to share with you my year in review and my plans for 2023. So quick wristwatch check, we got the Polar Explorer 2. So this was the only watch I got for myself last year. I love it. This completed my collection. I mean, a few years ago, I set up with my wife. We ran down through all of Rolex's best watches, and basically this completed it. There's no more watches to get. There was a question about whether or not I should get a Yachtmaster 40 in rose gold, sort of a matchy-matchy of my wife's Yachtmaster in 40 in rose gold, and that was going to be a sort of a matchy-matchy thing, and that's because I love that watch, the Yachtmaster, but I've decided that I won't do any matchups of my wife, as in if she's got the watch I won't get the same just because I like it. So I mean, for a lot of people they don't get that choice. These are very, very expensive watches, but that's where we're sitting. I'm not going to double up. I enjoy those watches that she's got vicariously through her, so her wearing it is the same as me enjoying it as well. So my watch goals in 2022 were to get this and then start preparing for my 10-year anniversary and my birth year watch for my 40th birthday, which will happen this year in 2023. So it was about prepping for that point. And I think a few things fell off the wayside. This took way longer than I expected. So this ended up coming in June, and then I was just kind of enamored with it for the entire summer. I really didn't think about watches again for quite a while. And then all of a sudden November comes around, and then I'm thinking about, oh yeah, 10-year anniversary. I completely forgot about these goals. And yeah, so 10-year anniversary rolls around, and I think I want 2 gold Daytonas. Like, we'll exchange gold Daytonas, and that's our sort of romance sort of pair of watches. And I go to my AD, they basically say this is not possible. Even one is not possible, which is usually true. Lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, I end up getting a gold Daytona for my wife. Upon seeing that, so that's fantastic, but upon seeing that particular gold Daytona, I realized that gold Daytona is really too much. Going for the second wasn't going to be worth it. It's also doing that double up thing that I said I wouldn't do, and I sort of avoided when I already rejected sort of the yellow gold Yachtmaster. And so the yellow gold Yachtmaster was offered to me before I got the Explorer 2, and I said, would accepting the yellow gold Yachtmaster delay this? And they said yes. So I said, no, let's hold off. And my wife doesn't like the whole matchy-matchy thing. So no to a yellow gold Yachtmaster for myself, and no to the Daytona in gold for myself. I think there's a recurring theme here. My wife doesn't want me wearing gold, I guess. That being said, I also wanted my wife to get a piece for herself just for the year, birth year of our daughter. I already had the Daytona for that, the steel Daytona. I wanted her to have something for our daughter, like a literal birth year watch. I got the Daytona on like Boxing Day last year. It counts for me, but I just thought that my wife should have something that represents my daughter. So we were aiming for the OP36 in Tiffany. That was almost going to be always impossible. We did get an OP36 in candy pink. I didn't bother my strip dealer for that. It's like, that's just impossible, those watches. So candy pink ended up in the collection. The one thing that I was trying to line up for my 40th birthday was, and for a long time now, as a birth year watch, and I was really aiming for the Root Beer GMT, the 16753, I think. And you know what? I gave up about 4 months into the year because it was just impossible to find any listings for it, honestly. It's just not a very common watch, and I didn't want to get ripped off in the end, settling for something that was of like poor condition or service dials and stuff like that. Not that I'm against service dials, but I just wasn't seeing enough come online that I just couldn't be bothered with the whole process anymore. I basically gave up. Rereading this goal again, my 40th is in halfway through the year. I think I might retake up that challenge of trying to get it. So there's a few watches that are going to be in the running. I've basically given up on the 10th anniversary, acquiring a new watch. No, nothing would really be appropriate. I think a steel Royal Oak would really be good, but I really needed to have been working on that last year, not now. And I only just came up with the idea now after seeing my wife's gold Daytona. So I really want a step up, but I didn't want to go gold, and ultimately in the end. So there's a few watches in the running, a Royal Oak in steel, Meteorite Daytona. Yes, that's precious metal, but I want an Oyster Flex, and I think I can rock that. That one's sort of acceptable, especially if it's in white gold, if Oyster Flex sort of dresses it down a fair bit. And a third maybe would be that Berthier root beer, but I don't really know how that's going to happen. I do have one feeler on that. There was someone who purchased one about more than a year ago, no, 2 years ago at this point, and it was a perfect watch for me and my Berthier. I'm going to put out a feeler and see whether or not this person wants to sell it, whether or not they're still in love with it anymore. So I've got a few options for Berthier. Ultimately, if nothing really happens, it's potentially I'm buying a Royal Oak on the grey market, potentially. But I don't want to do that. If it comes down to it, it may not happen. I've sort of got a backup plan, and that is just buying a really nice knife. I know it's very tangential, but I've kind of decided for my collection that if I'm not putting in an upgrade, then I'm not going to do it. I've already got enough watches, so I may as well just not compromise anymore. And not that any of my other watches are compromised, but certainly the ones that I initially checkmarked to go into the collection were easier than some of the ones I'm approaching now, and that makes sense. You don't go for the hardest thing possible, especially if it wasn't on your primary list. So my tastes are developing, and we'll see where we go. We'll see where we go. In the meantime, I've been really enjoying this. So I ended up putting it back on the bracelet, and I got to do a video on this watch. I got to, I'm enjoying this more than when I got it. It's really growing on me during the winter. It's a beautiful tool watch, you know what I mean? I like doing work with this, Well, until next time, please like and subscribe, and see you around.